was with trans fat, which is just, I think, banned or is in the process of being eliminated from the food supply.
And you agree it should be, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. Yeah, we've known that for probably close to 80 years. Dr. Fred Kummerow, who's still alive at the University of Illinois, is 102 years old, was one of the original scientists that figured that out in the 30s.
Well, I'm interrupting here. Let's talk about, because I'm so excited, fat for fuel. I'm no beach boy, but I got really unhealthy over 15 years. I've kind of lost 60, 70 pounds, gotten a lot healthier since then. But by eating more uncooked fish, very low cooked beef, things like that, having more micronutrients. So everything you've been writing about for decades, I now go into California Pizza Kitchen with my children and saying, we have, the micronutrients, the superfoods. Whether that's true or not, that when even the fast food places or quasi-fast food are trying to sound like Dr. Mercola, we're turning some corner.
Yes, we are making progress. There's no question. And it was, I realized a long time ago, like you, that the solution is really to go directly to the people. If you're trying to do it through the scientific journals and the professional community, you're going to be sabotaged because there's too many entrenched interests. So we have a similar strategy. I reach millions like you do, and eventually the people get it. They start to become unbrainwashed and manipulated as they are from the traditional media.
Well, let's walk through Fat for Fuel, available at InfoWarsStore.com. Again, this is such a beautiful book, so well written, goes over it all. If you've got family, especially that seem like they're having neurological disorders, I don't want to act like I'm a doctor here. I just know that my uncle has epilepsy from a motorcycle accident, and he was told 20 years ago by his doctor, you need to have healthy, high-quality fish oils and other fats, that are not toxic. And you know what? It made him cut his seizures even more than drugs.
It has been the standard of care for the treatment of drug-resistant seizure disorders for the last 80 years. So this is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. We just started to recently appreciate its value in the treatment of all other diseases because it really addresses the foundational issue of most diseases, which is dysfunction of the mitochondria, which are these cellular structures that generate energy to your body. And
so why is fat so important, and what types of fats are good?
Simply because your fat burns more efficiently. It's less polluted fuel, so that when you burn it as a primary fuel, you generate something less reactive oxygen species, which generates secondary less free radicals, which is what causes most of the degeneration.
So on one end, sugar is really toxic and really bad. On the other end, clean, uncooked fat is the best.
Well, it's not that quite simple. It's actually having them in the right ratios until your body's able to have the metabolic flexibility to burn either. And then one of the things we introduce is to make sure that you have adequate, not excessive protein, because not only do you have to pay attention to the quality of the fat, but you have to limit the carbs and the protein until your body's burning fat, and then you can go.
So the way I should explain it, obviously, when reading the book is there's got to be a balance between what they'd call a classic Atkins diet or paleo or whatever. You've gone to the science to find the best type of real diet.
Yes, because if you don't cycle this, if you just go on straight nutritional ketosis, that could be even more damaging. You'll basically starve to death almost, and your body will start to deteriorate. So once you transition, and we discuss how to do that in the book by measuring ketones, which are these water-soluble fats that penetrate really easily to the brain and nourish your cells really efficiently with less reactive oxygen species. Once you're doing that, then you can have feast days where you have a lot of healthy carbs, like sweet potatoes. Today I did some heavy lifting, so I do that 2 or 3 times a week, and on those days I have a fairly significant amount of healthy carbs and extra protein to build muscle mass. So it's a really easy food choice to integrate into your program, and it really addresses almost every single chronic degenerative disease we know as a foundational strategy.
Well, that makes sense, because I myself, I got really big, up to like over 280 pounds, now down to like 230 something, but I'm still a big guy. But a diet works for a while and then it stops working, and that's what your book gets into. You've got to take a spectrum of natural diets and then cycle through them, because the only thing that's constant is change.
Yeah, this is not a standard set of rules that we recommend for everyone. It's just really guidelines, and within those guidelines, you customize it according to your strategy. Like so for the 70% of the people in the country are overweight, they may want to integrate other metabolic strategies, which such as fasting and intermittent fasting, and even going on to fast for 3, 5, 7 days, maybe even longer, can jumpstart the process at which your body starts to burn fat as its primary fuel, and can be a very powerful and really inexpensive intervention. It doesn't cost anything to not eat.
Well, here's my problem with fasting. I've done it 3-4 days at a time. Yes. I've never been into drugs or anything. I get hired in a kite and start bouncing off the walls about day 3 or 4.
Yeah. Well, usually most people have trouble about day 2 or 3, but it gets easier after that. But then you can go back on having food. So fasting is voluntary. Starvation is not.
No, understand.
You had the total flexibility to eat food whenever you feel.
But I mean, as you said, studying history, I know you've written about this. For humans are normally feast or famine, right? We're not supposed to just always have a ton of food or always have none.
We only recently have had access to food 24/7 for the vast majority of human existence. We've had really significant amounts of times where we didn't have access to food. So our genetics, our biochemistry, our metabolism is designed for that, to really have that intermittent types of approaches with calories and eating. So if you eat continuously, as most people do, that shifts your metabolism to really burning carbohydrates or glycogen as your primary fuel source, which has enormous metabolic adverse consequences.
Well, Doc, the book is Fat for Fuel, and I've read, I don't know, hundreds of news articles about the best type of diets and 7 or 8 books about it. And I got to tell you, the reason I love the book is it isn't one diet, it isn't one formula. It's a spectrum of the science and what works for people to decide with their own metabolic system, their own family history, what works best for them. And that's why I think it's the book. I think you've written out of thousands of books, the book out there.
Well, it's not just that I wrote it. Most books are written by one author, and it's their impressions and ideas.
That's right. It's a big research document.
But what I did was I sent it out to 24 of the top experts in the world in this area. So it's really peer reviewed. It's a consensus. It's not just my ideas. The science is really valid and accurate, and it's rock solid. So they're going to get major benefits by doing this, and there's a consensus among the scientific researchers in recommending this type of approach.
All right, we're going to go to break. We only got like 10 more minutes left with you. When we come back, then I'm going to go to phone calls. But again, Dr. Mercola, I don't need to introduce you to folks. Most people know who you are. When we come back, I want to talk more about the book, but also briefly, the state of the fight to have supplements, vitamins, minerals, nutrients, because I see so much demonization, more than ever, against even mainline supplements. I've even had news articles demonizing us now for selling organic shampoo. They're even demonizing selling shampoo now. So there seems to be like a new level of kind of the Empire Strikes Back. Seemed like for a while, people like you were leading the fight to win, to get GMO labeling and to wake up. And I think because you're winning so big, they're now counter-striking. I want to see if you think I'm right.